December 2025. Interstate 80, somewhere in the Nevada desert. A family of four in a Ford Mach-E pulls into a rest stop with 8% battery. The nearest city is over an hour away. There are 4 Electrify America chargers standing in a row like promises the future made. The first one throws a communication error before it even says hello. The second has a cracked screen, completely dark, looks like it hasn't worked in months. The third one actually accepts payment, starts charging, and then dies after 2 minutes. The fourth just says unavailable. No explanation, no apology, just unavailable. Battery is now 6%. Next working charger is 47 miles away. They don't have 47 miles away. Tow truck costs $340. 4 hours lost on the side of a desert highway with 2 kids in the back seat. And here's the part that should terrify you. This isn't a horror story. This is a Tuesday. I need to be honest with you before we go any further. 2 years ago, I was one of those people defending EV infrastructure online. Someone would post about a broken charger, and I'd reply with statistics about how fast the network was growing, how these were just growing pains, how the future was inevitable. I was defending a narrative, not a reality. I was repeating marketing talking points from companies collecting billions in subsidies while their chargers sat broken in parking lots for months. And it wasn't until I started actually pulling the data, actually talking to stranded drivers, actually visiting charging stations with a clipboard and a camera, that I realized how badly I'd been fooled. So today I'm going to show you exactly how broken public EV charging really is, who benefits from you not knowing, and why the gap between what they promise and what they deliver should make you furious. Some of what I'm about to show you is going to be uncomfortable, especially if you've been defending this system online. Stay with me anyway. Here's the thing. There are 2 camps in this debate, and both of them have real points. EV advocates will tell you that electric vehicles are the future of transportation. They'll point to falling battery costs, improving range, reduced emissions, and the fact that Tesla's supercharger network proves this technology works at scale. They'll tell you that every new technology has rough early days, and that complaining about charger reliability is like complaining about gas station density in 1910. They have legitimate arguments. The technology is real. The environmental benefits are measurable. Tesla has demonstrated that a reliable fast-charging network is absolutely possible. And the growth trajectory is genuinely impressive. On the other side, skeptics will tell you that mandating a technology transition before the infrastructure can support it is reckless. They'll point to families stranded on highways, to road trips that take twice as long as they should, to working-class people being told their perfectly functional vehicles are going to be legislated out of existence. They'll tell you that the people making these mandates don't drive EVs themselves and wouldn't be caught dead relying on public charging for a cross-country trip. They also have legitimate arguments. Infrastructure matters, reliability matters, and people's real-world transportation needs don't pause while the network catches up. Both sides are making valid points. But both sides are missing something critical. This isn't a debate about whether EVs are good technology. They are. This is about something far more uncomfortable. It's about a system that is collecting your tax dollars to build infrastructure that fails 4 out of 10 times, and nobody is being held accountable. The technology works, the network doesn't. And those are 2 very different problems that are being deliberately conflated to protect the people making money from the confusion. Let's start with what the data actually says, because the numbers are devastating. J.D. Power's 2025 EV charging study found that 36% of public charging attempts either fail outright or have significant issues. That's not my number. That's J.D. Power, one of the most respected automotive research firms in the world. UC Berkeley conducted physical inspections of DC fast chargers in 2024 and found 27.5% were non-functional when inspectors showed up unannounced, not reported as broken, physically confirmed broken during surprise visits. Consumer Reports ran their own investigation in 2025 and documented problems with 42% of charging attempts. And PlugShare, which aggregates millions of user reviews, shows 38% of charging locations have recent complaints about reliability. Average all of that together and you're looking at a 35 to 40% failure rate. Now let me put that in context that will make your blood pressure spike. Gasoline pump failure rates are under 1%, and gas stations typically have 8 to 12 pumps, providing built-in redundancy. EV charging stations often have 2 to 4 chargers. When one fails, you've lost 25 to 50% of capacity. When two fail, you might be stranded. This is like building a hospital where 4 out of 10 defibrillators don't work and calling it progress because defibrillators didn't exist 50 years ago. That 35 to 40% failure rate breaks down into specific categories, and understanding them reveals something infuriating. Communication errors account for 28% of failures. The charger and your car literally cannot agree on how to talk to each other. Payment processing failures make up 22%. You're standing in a parking lot, credit card in hand, and the machine won't take your money. Session initiation failures are 18%. Everything seems fine until the moment charging should actually begin, and nothing happens. Premature termination is 15%. Charging starts, you walk away to grab coffee, you come back, and it stopped after 6 minutes with no explanation. Physical damage accounts for 12%. Cracked screens, broken connectors, vandalized units sitting unrepaired for weeks. Complete power failures are 8%. The unit is just dead. And software glitches rounded out at 7%. The charger's brain crashed and nobody rebooted it because there's no one within 200 miles who's paid to care. But here's where the picture gets really damning. Not all networks are created equal, and the gap tells you everything about what's actually possible versus what's being tolerated. Tesla's supercharger network has approximately a 4% issue rate. 4%. Electrify America runs around 32%. EVgo sits near 38%. ChargePoint is at roughly 41%. And Blink is hovering around 47%, meaning you have essentially a coin flip's chance of a successful charge. The gap between Tesla at 4% and everyone else at 32 to 47% is not a technology gap. It's an accountability gap. Tesla built the network, maintains the network, and profits directly from the network working. Everyone else built chargers to collect federal subsidies and state incentives, and the money flows whether the charger works or not. That's not a bug. That's the business model. And the experience of actually using a non-Tesla charger is its own special kind of punishment. Every network requires a different app, a different account, a different payment method. The average non-Tesla EV driver has 6 to 8 charging apps on their phone. You pull up to a charger and the first question isn't, "Can I charge here?" It's, "Which app does this one use?" Then you download it, create an account, enter your credit card, agree to terms of service, find the station on the in-app map, initiate the session. That process takes 5 to 10 minutes if everything works, and it frequently doesn't. App crashes are common. Credit card readers are broken on 30 to 40% of chargers. Meanwhile, Tesla owners pull up, plug in, and charging begins. Payment is automatic. No app juggling, no account creation, no prayer circle in a parking lot. Tesla solved this problem years ago. The fact that everyone else is still fumbling with it tells you everything about priorities. It gets worse. The apps lie to you. Charging network apps show station status as available, but studies show that 40 to 60% of that status information is inaccurate. Drivers plan their routes based on an app claiming chargers are working, arrive after driving 30 or 40 miles out of their way, and discover a completely different reality. You're navigating by a map that's wrong almost half the time. Imagine if Google Maps sent you to restaurants that were closed 60% of the time. You'd delete it in a day. But EV drivers are told to just deal with it. When chargers break, the average repair time is 7 to 14 days. Some units sit broken for 30 to 90 days or longer. Why? Charging companies are in financial trouble. There aren't enough qualified technicians. Replacement parts are backordered for weeks, and many stations are in remote locations where sending a repair crew costs more than the charger earns in a month. So the charger sits there, a metal monument to broken promises, while the company that installed it continues reporting it as part of their network to maintain their subsidy eligibility. Call customer service about a broken charger, and you'll wait 15 to 30 minutes on hold before reaching an offshore call center, where someone reads from a script, tells you they'll create a ticket, offers no timeline, provides no updates, and hangs up. If you're stranded, that call doesn't help you. That ticket doesn't charge your car. That politeness doesn't get your kids off the highway shoulder. Now here's where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is the part nobody wants to talk about. There are no federal reliability standards for EV chargers. None. The federal government subsidized the installation of these chargers through billions in infrastructure spending, but the money incentivized building chargers, not maintaining them. There are no penalties for non-functional equipment, no required uptime percentages, no enforcement mechanisms. Operators can collect subsidies, install chargers, and functionally abandon them, and that is exactly what's happening across the country. Compare that to gasoline. Gas pumps are regulated for safety, accuracy, and accessibility. There are inspections. There are penalties for non-compliance. There are standards that have been refined over a century. EV charging has virtually none of this. We built the 21st century version of the gas station and forgot to include the 20th century version of accountability. You are subsidizing a charging network with your tax dollars that fails 4 out of 10 times, and the companies collecting those subsidies face zero consequences when it doesn't work. That's not growing pains. That's a grift wrapped in a green ribbon. And you might be thinking, well, this will get better with time, but let me show you who's counting on you believing that. The companies lobbying hardest for accelerated EV mandates are the same companies collecting billions in infrastructure subsidies. They don't need the chargers to work. They need the chargers to exist. Existence triggers the subsidy. Function is optional. And every time you defend this system online, every time you tell a stranded driver that these are just growing pains, every time you attack someone for pointing out that the infrastructure isn't ready, you are doing their public relations work for free. You are an unpaid spokesperson for companies that would rather collect a government check than send a technician. That's you. That's what's happening right now. And if that sentence made you angry, if your first instinct was to argue rather than to consider, congratulations. The narrative worked exactly as designed. Winter makes every single one of these problems worse. Failure rates effectively double in cold weather. Charging speeds drop 30 to 50% when temperatures drop. Touchscreens freeze and become unresponsive. Charging connectors freeze into ports. Internal electronics fail in ways that warm weather testing never predicted. A 600-mile trip that takes 9 hours in a gas car becomes 12 to 14 hours in an EV with 3 to 4 charging stops. Broken chargers add 1 to 3 hours. Holiday queues add another 2 to 4. Your Thanksgiving drive becomes an odyssey, and the infrastructure you were promised would be ready simply isn't. I talked to a woman named Sarah last month. She's a nurse in Colorado, bought a Chevy Bolt in 2023 because she believed in the technology and wanted to reduce her carbon footprint. Drove it to work every day, charged at home, loved it. Then last winter, she needed to drive 300 miles to see her mother who'd been hospitalized. She planned the route carefully, checked 3 different apps, identified 4 charging stops. The first charger worked but charged at half the advertised speed in the cold. The second was broken. The third required an app she didn't have, and the cell service was too weak to download it. She sat in a hospital parking lot in 17-degree weather for 45 minutes on hold with customer service while her mother was upstairs in a bed she couldn't reach. When she posted about it online, people called her a fossil fuel shill. They told her she should have planned better. They said she was spreading anti-EV propaganda. She told me, and I'll never forget this, she said, I spent 3 years defending EVs to everyone I know. I convinced my brother to buy one, and when I needed mine the most, it failed me. And when I told people that, they treated me like a traitor. I'm not anti-EV, I'm anti-being lied to. That's not an anti-technology story. That's an anti-accountability story. Sarah isn't the enemy. The people who built chargers to collect subsidies and then abandoned them are the enemy. And the system that punishes Sarah for telling the truth while rewarding those companies for their failure is the enemy. The family in that Mach-E on Interstate 80. That $340 tow truck bill isn't a line item. It's a broken contract. They were told the infrastructure would be there. They planned around that promise. They paid a premium for an electric vehicle based on that promise. And 4 dead chargers in a row turned that promise into a lie that cost them money, time, and something harder to measure, which is trust. The charging network they paid for with their taxes will lose another 40% of its value through neglect, and nobody will be fined a single dollar. I've watched EV communities turn on their own members for reporting problems. Forum threads where someone describes being stranded and the first 10 replies are about what they should have done differently. That's not enthusiasm. That's a defense mechanism for people who've tied their identity to a technology and can't separate legitimate criticism from personal attack. The real cost here goes beyond money. It's psychological. It's teaching millions of people that admitting a problem exists means you're against progress. That pointing out a 40% failure rate makes you a climate denier. That the math is political rather than mathematical. That doesn't go away when the chargers eventually get fixed. That stays with you. So tell me, do you support the expansion of EV charging infrastructure? Good, so do I. But tell me one legitimate reliability concern that deserves attention even if you still support the transition. Tell me one thing that's broken that should be fixed before we build more. If you can't do that, if acknowledging a 40% failure rate feels like betrayal, then you're not supporting a technology. You're defending an identity. And the companies collecting your tax dollars while their chargers sit broken in parking lots are counting on exactly that.